improving our early care system and expanding access to high-quality early care programs for children in the state, Osprey?
I don't have a specific an idea here for you, John. I think I'll come back to something I've said here in a slightly different way, is that with all the programs, we all have to be willing to look at how we're going to pay for them. And if we think that early childhood care is critical, and it's going to add additional cost, then we have to be honest to say what things aren't we going to do, how are we going to consolidate activities that allow us to do them. Whether it's in the issue of public education or whether it's in the area of education or higher education, I think we have to have a serious conversation about where dollars are going. I mentioned earlier about the need to look at some things about how our public teachers unions are, whether we've got the right mix in compensation. Do we need to eliminate jobs from the classroom, whether they be pre-K or earlier, if we have an opportunity to reduce the total cost associated with people willing to take pay freezes and they're willing to pick up a higher percentage of their health care costs? I think those have to be discussions and not just say what we want, but let's make sure we're having a real discussion about how we're going to pay for it.
Dan Malloy?
We live in a state that started underfunding education about 16 years ago. We were funding flow of state dollars to local educational initiatives were on par with the state average. And we saw that reduced by 17 to 18% against the national average. We did some really bad things in Connecticut on a public policy basis with respect to public education. I'm not sure I would call it a wholesale abandonment by state government of their local obligations, but it darn close to it. Now, did some good things happen? School readiness happened, and that program needs to be supported, and we should not advocate eliminating early childhood education. We have a 33-year-old standard in this country that every child will come to school ready to learn. We need to honor that in this state, particularly in our urban areas, and we need to equalize, to put urban education initiatives on par with suburban educational initiatives. We've made some really bad decisions that I'm anxious to begin the process of overturning, and pre-K through 12 education is one of those areas that's going to require some real attention and combined effort, and perhaps combining existing departments into one to have a broader examination of educational issues pre-K through college.
So Marsh.
Well, I think it's interesting. This is yet again an issue none of us are disagreeing about. We need to have early childhood care that's going to be conducive to providing a strong foundation for the rest of their lives. Dan said for 16 years we haven't been doing a good job, and I agree with that. But why not? We've had a Democratic legislature. They seem to support it, but it hasn't gone anywhere. We have a Republican executive office. I was on the governor's council for early childhood education. Nothing happened. We have a dysfunctional government. And when you look at an issue like early childhood education and care, it's not a matter of just education, it's a matter of family life. What's the point of having quality child care so that a parent can go off to a low quality job, not having education? It can't be looked at in silos, it can't be territorial. And that's how our government looks at this. Every little issue seems to be territorial. And if you don't have good education, if you don't have a good job, if you don't have good child care, if you don't know how to be a good parent, none of it's going to matter. You have to look at the whole thing as